Hello everybody, welcome back to Learn Lockdown one more time. Me, Matt. So this is part of the technique series. We're going to be having a look at different techniques and ideas. So we've done our beginner bit. We're going to be having a look at a few videos. I've lengthened it. We're going to do a few more than 5 because we've had a look at hammer and pull and slides all in one video, which is pretty cool. And now I thought it'd be great to have a look at vibrato versus tremolo. So what's a vibrato and what's a tremolo? So we've got the idea of vibrato from when we did that, what was that other track that we did? Let's turn that up. And it was that fret 8 there, that's C, F, and that F vibrato there we were talking about before in that cream track, that we were kind of anchoring our whole hand around the neck and using it as a pivot, having that kind of part of our hand here as a pivot, and moving the whole neck gives you a proper bend, bending that string. So I guess it adds a little bit of flair to your playing. That they would call a vibrato. So the idea of a vibrato is on classical guitar, and you could do this to electric, but with steel strings it's a little bit more tricky. With classical guitars, you've got nylon strings. They tend to stretch and be a bit more pliable. With these steel strings it is a little bit more tricky, but what they would tend to do as a technique there is actually move left and right on the string, and they're actually stretching that string this way and that way, and that will actually then take that note and make it higher and lower. So you're kind of having this, you're wavering around the actual note that you're playing. You can kind of hear a little bit. It's hard with a steel string. So what they tend to do with electric and rock guitar, I suppose, being a little bit more exuberant and a little bit more crazy, I suppose, have a bit of fun with it, is these big bends. But what happens when you're bending a string, you're only ever stretching it. You're never kind of compressing that string to make it shorter. You're always pulling it and making it longer. So from that point of view, it's a little bit different, I suppose, because you're not wavering one way then the other from the note. You're always taking that central note and making it higher, back to the original, higher, back to the original. So it does sound cool though. So we're anchoring that and creating that vibrato. So you can do that on any note, on any string. I quite like the G and the B. They're the 3 highest strings on the guitar are a lot thinner, a bit more like cheese wire. 3 lowest ones, when you look at them really closely, they're actually a piece of wire, and they're wound with another piece of wire wound around them to make them thicker, a thicker gauge. So they do sound different. When you play these unwound ones, the highest 3, they're a bit more twangy, and I think with a vibrato they sound good. So especially when you're doing solos and stuff. So that's a vibrato. So you anchor your hand anywhere on that fretboard, play that note, whichever note it is, and you're bending it. Okay, that's a vibrato. And I guess you could use it pretty much in any place. When it comes to tremolo, and that's a different thing altogether. You'll see a vibrato in tablature, like as we were talking about before with our tab video, where you've got the number of the fret. Let's say it's that cream tab that we were doing before, that fret 8 on the A string. It'll say a little 8, and above the tab, above those lines with all the numbers on them, you'll have, I guess, little little hieroglyphs that kind of tell you how you should be playing each note, and you'll get this little wiggly line, and that's a vibrato. Tells you to give it a bit of a vibrato on there. Now with it, when it comes to tremolo, I haven't really seen much in there when it comes to tremolo. I guess they put the vibrato symbol in at the same time, but you can generally hear that it's a tremolo versus vibrato. So what is a tremolo? So tremolo is using this tremolo bar. Some people call it a whammy bar, I suppose. I really like these guitars, so I've got this one. I can quickly get it, but I've got this one as well. Same kind of idea. So these guitars have a, I'll show it in this camera, shall I? Be a bit better. So these guitars have what's called a floating bridge. So this is actually just attached here and here. They're the only two bits, and actually those two pins, bolts, are in the guitar, and this bridge is actually resting just up against it. It's got the strings pulling it this way, so it should be lifting out of the guitar, but if I turn it round, it's got, you can't really see them, but it's got a set of springs inside here that's pulling it just to a bolt here. So you've got then this bridge is just floating here with the tension of the strings and the tension of the springs on the back. It's just sat there, and when you're moving this bar, you can actually bend it upwards and the other way. So that this way is making the strings longer, and allowing them to be lower. This way is stretching those strings, and taking that tension off, well, putting that tension on, and making the notes higher. So I guess you're kind of using that that system, that tremolo. Some guitars have a fixed bridge, and it's screwed to the body, and it's just enough bend in the metal of it that it will give you a little bit of a wobble. If you're looking at, do I get a floating tremolo bridge? Do I get a fixed bridge? A lot of reviews and stuff, if it's your first guitar with a floating tremolo bridge, can be, they're really difficult to set up and to tune and so on, and they are more tricky. I wouldn't say they're necessarily really difficult if you know how. So I think I'm going to do a video on how to set up a floating bridge, and do some guitar maintenance ones as well, which might be quite good. I found that I've got a few buzzing frets in the summer because the wood contracts and expands with the different seasons, and you find that the tension on the neck with the strings, it will bend either way. So you have to do a little bit of setup to make sure the neck's nice and flat all the time. I'll do another video on that. But yeah, I think they're great, these floating tremolo bridges. So what does a tremolo sound like? I'm going to use the same note. I'm not going to bend it like this with a vibrato. We're going to use the tremolo bar, and I'm going to do it in, I'll do it in this one. Play that. You can straight away hear the difference. We've got vibrato, tremolo. It's a bit more extreme. You can go higher as well. You get what some people, Van Halen was great at these, the dive. So you take the note and you dive down. Really cool effect. I just love doing that sometimes. Just sit there for a few minutes and just do that for a bit. I really like that with the G, open G. So that's really cool. So when you're doing this, there is a bit of a technique to it. I'm going to do this in this one. When you're playing different solos, some people tend to hold the tremolo bar in their hand while they're picking, and it just enables you to play kind of little melodies and things with that tremolo action in there the whole time. Or you could just use it here and there, I suppose. You can kind of... You do hits as well. Joe Satriani's great at this. Dropping all the names today. So you can do some taps on that. Sounds quite cool. Another great one, and this another name drop. Polyphia, another band I quite like. Have Steve Vai was great at this as well. He kind of takes the tremolo bar. I like to put it in the reverse. You can put it this way, but it's quite cool this way. And you flick it like that, and you get, if I do that in this camera here, you get this wobble on the tremolo bar. So if I play a note, and I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this. It's pretty tricky to hold it up and do this. This is a new technique. Play it. You hear that tremolo flutter? Quite a cool sound. You don't want to touch it too hard because you don't want to get that effect. You just want to have a quite quick flick. Takes a bit of practice, definitely. But that's, I guess, tremolo versus vibrato. So your vibrato's something I definitely say it's good to get used to doing. On the end of a little lick, it sounds quite cool. Tremolo, bit different. I guess practice a few solos, come up with some ideas, but you can maybe come into a note. Or you can end a song with it, I suppose, as well. You could be like that's always quite cool. So yeah, they definitely have their uses, these tremolo bars, but it's whether you choose vibrato versus tremolo. Just listen out for what you're hearing in different ones, and practice some of those techniques and have a play with it, I suppose. But these there are some different techniques with them, but check out those tremolo bar flutters. They're all the rage, and the dive as well. You might find some other videos about here and there that practice that. Cool. So that is vibrato versus tremolo. We're going to have a look at, our next video is going to be all about bending, with the different ideas of that. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll see you next time on Learning in Lockdown. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.